Waking up from the Jehovah's Witnesses involves learning a lot of the things that this cult has intentionally kept you ignorant of. This is about the resources that I specifically found enlightening and useful, but getting informed in any way about the topics that I'll show you here will start filling up the void of information that we have when we leave a restrictive cult. The very first one is therapy. Go to therapy. Find a therapist, maybe even a free one that you can get through your insurance or government, and tell them everything you're going through, especially because when you're waking up from a cult, you don't even know what's up or down. You might be facing shunning on top of realizing that everything you believed in was wrong. And this will be one of the hardest times you have mentally speaking. And you should go get checked by a doctor, just as you would go get checked by a doctor if you were in an accident where you cracked your head. Even if you believe that you don't need therapy, let a therapist tell you you don't need therapy. Once we have that out of the way, let's get into the resources and books and all the cool stuff. When you're waking up, you just have an awareness that you need to learn new things, but you might not necessarily know what things to learn or where to learn them from. What's more, most ExJW's witnesses end up injecting our bias into our videos, sometimes quite blatantly. If you want to simply learn the basics about how this religion has lied to you, there's no better place than ExJWFacts.com. Made by Paul Grundy, JW Facts is an almost encyclopedic look into the religion and its teachings, showing you how and where they contradict, using mostly the Jehovah's Witnesses' own publications. He has systematically debunked every major claim that this religion has made, and you can learn all about the truth about this religion simply on this website, from the blood prohibition in 1914 to the generation teaching and even obscure teachings that you might not even know about as a Jehovah's Witness. It's all on display in JW Facts. However, you might want to get a bit deeper into how mind control works, not just for this cult, but for every cult. In my opinion, there's no better book to do that than Combating Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan. This book, which was originally written without knowledge of Jehovah's Witnesses, perfectly describes how Jehovah's Witnesses and practically every other cult works, explaining the methods of indoctrination and showing you how they keep people from using rational thinking by controlling every outlet the person has. At this stage, it's very healthy to read about Jehovah's Witnesses who, like you, woke up from indoctrination, and their different thought processes and their reasons for waking up. And there are a billion books about that specific thing, but I'd like to recommend the sponsor of this video, I Was a Teenage Door Knocker by Jonathan Berger. I Was a Teenage Door Knocker is pretty much a coming-of-age story with a Jehovah's Witness twist. The protagonist, John, is funny, imperfect, and candid. At times, the narrative spacing slows, but you still stay for the character development and for the end that you know is coming. And the ending feels especially satisfying as John reaches a sense of peace with his decisions, a reminder that self-acceptance is often a gradual, hard-won journey. That might open your eyes to topics or issues you haven't rethought of yet, and can help you reevaluate your values to better fit with your newfound belief system. There's an affiliate link down below. Thank you for sponsoring this video. Another amazing waking up story is the wake up story of Amber Scorer in Leaving the Witnesses. This is an amazing book of a Jehovah's Witness who woke up when she was preaching illegally in China. This book has been reviewed by The New Yorker and The New York Times and has even appeared on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah and in Oprah magazine. It's an amazing story of a strong woman getting over her indoctrination and leaving this misogynist cult that taught me a lot about how women perceive their lives in the cult, and will remind you just how indoctrinated and radicalized the average Jehovah's Witness is. You can also find your waking up stories in documentaries like The Witnesses by Four Corners, which, by the way, you can watch right here on YouTube. One of my favorite documentaries was made by Vice TV and released 3 years ago, called Crusaders. This fascinating documentary talks about whistleblowers who stole documents of CSA to prove that this religion has a secret CSA database, and shows just how gigantic this cover-up really is. That will start waking you up into the deep issues of this religion. Okay, so now you know the truth about the truth. You mostly know how you were indoctrinated and how to dismantle your previous beliefs. But how did the religion get there in the first place? When did this group go from being against religion to being the most damaging version of religion? Who are the governing body members and how have the doctrines changed throughout the decades? This is fascinating information for ExJW's witnesses. If before you were discovering the truth about the truth, now you can get to discover the true history of the cult with fascinating twists and turns and satisfying ways to fill the knowledge gaps you still have about this cult. This is a great time to read Crisis of Conscience by Raymond France, an ex-governing body member who apostatized at the beginning of the 80s and wrote an amazing book going in-depth about the inside workings of this religion and how they led to the inevitable conclusion that God is nowhere to be found inside this cult. I debated whether to put it in the first segment because this is an amazing look into the religion, even when you are just waking up. But since he left over 40 years ago, this religion has morphed into a completely different one with different beliefs, different headquarters, and different doctrines, with the only constant practically being the fact that the governing body runs this cult. Regardless, it's a fascinating look into the origins of the governing body, how this cult stopped being ruled by a president, and how they came up with a new doctrine and apologetics. You can also find very interesting deep dives into specific areas of this religion. In the channel Critical Thinkers, JT goes through his own experience as a circuit overseer and a Bethelite, telling his own genuine stories of how it was to grow up in the cult and work for free in their cult compound. The Blue Envelope has failed going through some of the weirdest and most interesting rabbit holes, going through some of the governing body members and giving the most comprehensive view on them, as well as going through weird Jehovah's Witness beliefs, like that one of the Jehovah's Witnesses believing we will be agender, non-binary in paradise, and that one time the Jehovah's Witnesses tried to make their own calendar. Plus, his video, It's All a Blur, A Jehovah's Witnesses and Gender, is everything I wish I could say whenever anyone asks me about my current beliefs on wokeness, transsexuality, homosexuality, and anything related to LGBTQ people. At this point, you should know pretty much everything major there is to know about the religion and how indoctrination works. You might have found not only that some of your beliefs were wrong as you thought at the beginning, but you've gotten close to perceiving the depth of the damage that this religion can cause. You don't want to waste more time learning how to debunk the doctrine, since you probably already know that, but you might still want to keep up learning about the religion, following up on new developments, and learning how to wake people up. I have a video on exactly that last thing, how to wake people up, that I believe is the most valuable video I've made. I go through techniques that I've used to wake other people, including my mom, with a lot of success. I also make videos about the day-to-day of this religion, but I don't go anywhere near the depth of avoidjw.org, a website I have recommended before, where they write articles sometimes several times a week on new developments far faster than I can make videos about them. You should also follow Larchwood and Ron Pomo on Twitter and on other social media. They post about Jehovah's Witness stuff constantly, and I bet they're posting right now about something JW related that you were completely unaware of. Finally, you need to learn how to socialize and how to make friends, especially if you were born in this cult. Honestly, I kinda lucked into having friends very recently, but I had to learn pretty much how to behave, since you really do not know how many damaging things you're doing just because it was part of Jehovah's Witness culture. The absolute best book on this is How to Make Friends and Influence People. This book will show you how to socialize, how to make friends, and how to make genuine connections with people. Pretty much everyone should read this book. It's a very popular book, but you will especially find it insightful if you're actively trying to remake your social circle. And speaking of that, by now, you figured out that pretty much everything you believed in was a lie. It's not just 1914. It's not just your religion. Your whole philosophy and worldview were based on flawed premises. This is when you might realize that you don't know what you should be doing with your life, what the point of life even is, or how you should process the world around you, because a cult dictated all of that for you to indoctrinate you. You might realize that political neutrality was nothing but a sham used to keep you from having an opinion about anything that happened in your community, and you might not even know where your politics lie or should lie. And this is where it all gets fuzzy, because here I can't point you to the right answer. Here, you need to use everything you've learned so far to find out what the right answer is for you. Now, you might think that you don't need to learn about politics or philosophy, but if you do, I want you to ask yourself why. Why do you believe that? Is it because that's the right move? Or could it be that a cult fooled you into thinking that it was very cool to keep you ignorant of politics and philosophy? Because if you knew about philosophy, you probably would have woken up earlier. At the end of the day, philosophy is the study of fundamental questions about the nature of the world and ourselves using rational and critical thinking. That cannot be in a cult that already told you what the fundamental nature of the world and yourself was. It was Jehovah, and stop asking questions. And politics is, in a way, applied philosophy, since your own philosophy will dictate which governmental structures should be in place according to you, and what should and should not be in their jurisdiction. Now, I can't tell you what your views on philosophy or politics should be, but I definitely can tell you that you should have them. If you really want to reject them, at least learn about them enough so your rejection doesn't come from a place of ignorance. I don't know that much about this area either, since this is the stage where I'm currently at. That being said, the best place to start should probably be getting a general overview. The Story of Philosophy by Will Durant is the best resource I've found so far for that. It's not that long, and if you read it, you will have pretty much covered all of the basics of philosophy by the end of it. Now, if you have ADHD like me, and you learn better through YouTube videos and such, Wisecrack is a great channel that analyzes pop culture through a philosophical lens. It can be pretty dense at the beginning, but they have great introductory videos too. You can learn about politics just by learning about philosophy, forming your own opinion on that, and then applying it to political parties and their actions. When I started this phase, I realized that even though I was told as a Jehovah's Witness that I had no politics, my beliefs and philosophy were very closely aligned with the religion's right that supports an authoritarian government. After all, theocracies are placed firmly on the right, and there's no government more authoritarian than one created by a cult. The more I learn about the origins of those beliefs, the less I could justify having them, and that moved me around the political spectrum as I learned. As I told you before, I can't tell you what your beliefs on philosophy or politics should be, but I believe that you should have them, and that is why I think it's only fair that I tell you mine, at least mine so far. I usually jokingly say that my philosophy is stoicism for the hard times and hedonism for the good times. I believe the point of life is ultimately to be enjoyed, but true, real, lasting joy rarely comes from ignorance, dependency, or immediate sources. It comes from building meaningful and lasting relationships, from seeing every human as our equal, and from living a healthy life so you can enjoy it for as long as possible. When it comes to politics, I believe that an ideal economic system is one where the worker gets a wage proportional to what the worker generated.
With your support, we will send the hammer of the people's will crashing through the windows of Mr. Krabs' house of servitude.
And an ideal government is a strong government that focuses on science, education, and on ensuring everyone has their basic needs covered and their international human rights respected and guaranteed. If you want a pop culture reference, I believe that our society should be more like the one in Star Trek, where everyone, men, women, and others from all kinds of races, are seen as equal and can focus not on making and accumulating money, but on the betterment of humanity, with enough freedom to truly be whomever they want to be, while also having a strong government with the most ethical laws we can come up with to make sure that those laws are respected. And you don't have to agree with me, but you should at least be able to point to the system of governments or lack thereof that you agree with the most and say why. After all, once you learn about politics, you realize just how big the lie of not being involved in politics really is. Everything we do in our society is politics. You are already being an active part of politics. If you're playing the game, you should at least be aware of the rules. Those are the best wake-up resources I have been able to find, and they have helped me out the most in every step on my journey. Honestly, if I had seen this list somewhere, I would have saved months and months of reading and researching in circles, and I haven't seen anyone tackle this topic specifically, so I wanted to give it a try. But let me know, what is the most consequential resource that you found in your journey? Write whatever I missed below, and don't forget that you can support me like these guys over here to get videos early, behind the cameras footage, and articles, and downloadables, and a lot more stuff. Also, I have a t-shirt shop that I keep forgetting to shout out with all of these designs. Thank you again to I Was a Teenage Children Rocker by Jonathan Berger for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out the link below.